The wind howls across the vast, empty expanse of the Gobi Desert, a relentless force that has scoured the earth for millennia, carrying sand that stings like needles. It is the year 100 BC, the second year of the Tianhan era, and the sun has not yet risen over the jagged horizon. In the pre-dawn gloom, the world is a monochrome of gray and black, a frozen landscape where silence is broken only by the rhythmic groaning of timber and the fluttering of heavy fabric. Here, at the very edge of the known world, stands a solitary watchtower, a jagged tooth of rammed earth and wood biting into the sky. This is the frontier of the Han Empire, a liminal space where the organized agricultural civilization of the East meets the untamed, nomadic wilderness of the Xiongnu. Inside the mud brick walls of this border garrison, a young soldier named Liu shivers in the bitter cold, his breath forming ghosts in the frigid air as he wakes from a fitful sleep. He is 20 years old, a conscript from a farming village in the Central Plains, thousands of li away from the rice paddies and mulberry trees he once called home. As he struggles to extricate himself from the communal bedding, the weight of his duty settles upon him heavier than the lamellar armor he must soon strap to his chest. This is not merely a guard post. It is a sentinel in a geopolitical chess game between the mighty Han Dynasty and the Confederacy of the Xiongnu, a line drawn in the sand that determines the fate of millions. The garrison, known as a ton, is a small, fortified compound housing a few dozen souls, yet it feels like a lonely island in a sea of dust. Liu rubs the sleep from his eyes, his fingers rough and calloused from months of handling heavy crossbow triggers and dragging stone. The air inside the barracks is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, stale smoke, and the pungent odor of animal fat used for lamps. Around him, other men begin to stir, their movements sluggish and mechanical. These are not the glamorous generals of the imperial court, nor the elite cavalry of the emperor's personal guard. They are the dregs of the empire's vast military machine farmers, blacksmiths, and former criminals sentenced to service in the wastelands. Liu reaches for his tunic, a thick, padded garment made of hemp that offers little protection against the desert chill, and begins the ritual of dressing. Every movement is calculated to conserve heat, every pause a silent negotiation with the freezing air. He knows that outside these walls, the temperature is plummeting, and the wind is waiting to strip the warmth from his bones the moment he steps out. The daily routine of a Han border soldier is a marathon of monotony, punctuated by moments of sheer terror, a cycle designed to strip away individuality and forge a cohesive unit of obedience. As Liu laces his boots, the sound of a wooden clapper echoes through the compound, signaling the start of the watch. There is no luxury of a slow morning here. The emperor's time is exacting, measured in water clocks and the movement of the shadows. Liu stumbles out into the courtyard, where the sergeant major, a scarred veteran with a voice like grinding stones, begins the roll call. Names are shouted into the wind, and responses are barked back, each man confirming his presence. This is the first accounting of the day, a bureaucratic necessity that ensures no man has deserted during the night, a crime that brings shame upon one's family and execution upon the captured fugitive. The atmosphere is tense, for the desert is not empty at night. It belongs to the Xiongnu, the archers who ride swift as the wind and vanish like smoke. To step outside the walls alone is to invite death. Once the roll is verified, the men turn their attention to their most precious possession, the crossbow. In 100 BC, the Han crossbow is the most advanced projectile weapon in the world, a marvel of engineering that combines a composite bow of wood, horn, and sinew with a precise bronze trigger mechanism. Liu treats his weapon with reverent care. He checks the string, looking for frays that could snap at a critical moment, and examines the bronze trigger, ensuring that the mechanism is smooth and free of the grit that constantly invades every crevice of the garrison. The quarrels, tipped with heavy bronze points, are counted and stacked. This is the soldier's lifeline, the tool that allows a handful of men on a wall to repel a horde of cavalry. The military philosophy of the Han is one of technological superiority and disciplined defense. They do not rely on the ferocity of individual warriors, but on the massed volley of bolts that can darken the sky and pierce leather armor at 100 paces. As Liu oils the mechanism, he wonders about the enemy beyond the wall. He has seen them only from a distance, dark figures on ponies, their silhouettes etched against the setting sun. They are the Xiongnu, the very reason this wall exists, a confederation of tribes that has harassed the Han border for decades. With the weapons inspected, the next crucial task of the morning begins, the maintenance of the beacon tower. The beacon system is the nervous system of the Han defense, a high-speed communication network that relies on smoke by day and fire by night. A signal sent from this tower can travel hundreds of miles in a matter of hours, relaying warnings of invasion to the command centers further east. Liu climbs the narrow, ladder-like stairs to the top of the tower, the wind tugging at his clothes and threatening to throw him off balance. At the summit, the view is breathtakingly desolate. To the south, the land begins to soften, hinting at the agricultural heartland of the empire. To the north, there is nothing but rolling dunes and barren rock, the domain of the nomad. Liu's job is to prepare the fuel bundles, dried wolf dung, reeds, and straw mixed with sulfur. These materials are chosen because they burn with a distinct, thick smoke that can be seen against the backdrop of the desert sky. He stacks them carefully, ensuring they are ready to be lit at a moment's notice. The responsibility is immense. A missed signal could doom entire settlements to a surprise raid. As he works, he looks out at the horizon, his eyes scanning for movement. The psychology of the watcher is a delicate thing. Stare at nothing for long enough, and you start to see things that aren't there. A rock that looks like a crouching man, a dust cloud that resembles a galloping horse. The fear of the other is a constant companion, a low-grade anxiety that never truly fades. Descending from the tower, Liu joins the rest of the garrison for the morning meal. Food in the border garrisons is strictly rationed and monotonous. The staple is millet, sometimes served as a gruel, sometimes steamed into a dense cake. On good days, there is a bit of dried meat or salted fish, but mostly it is the grain that sustains them. Liu sits on a wooden bench, blowing on his hot porridge to cool it. The taste is bland, but it is fuel, and he eats quickly, knowing that the labor of the day awaits. The conversation is sparse. Men speak in low voices about homes they haven't seen in years, about the harvest they are missing, or about the letters they hope are wending their way through the postal system. The Han bureaucracy is surprisingly efficient, and letters do reach the frontier, carried by relays of fast horses, but the wait is agonizing. Liu thinks of his parents, his mother's weary face, and his father's bent back. He is here because the state owns his labor, a tax paid in flesh and blood. In exchange for his service, his family receives a small exemption from other taxes, a vital lifeline that keeps them from starvation. It is a cold transaction, but it is the reality of the empire. After the meal, the physical labor begins. The border defenses are not static. They are constantly expanding and degrading, requiring endless work. Today, Liu and his squad are assigned to reinforce a section of the rammed earth wall that has been eroded by the recent sandstorms. They carry baskets of gravel and clay, mixing them with water to create a mortar that will patch the breaches. The work is grueling, requiring them to lift heavy loads under the merciless sun. The temperature swings in the Gobi are extreme, freezing at night, scorching by midday. Sweat pours down Liu's face, stinging his eyes, and mixing with the dust to form a layer of mud on his skin. His muscles ache, a deep, throbbing soreness that has become his normal state of being. This is the unglamorous reality of the Great Wall, not just the famous stone and brick fortifications of later centuries, but a sprawling network of rammed earth ditches and watchtowers that relied entirely on human muscle to build and maintain. As Liu tamps the earth down with a heavy wooden rammer, he feels a sense of connection to the millions of laborers who have come before him. The wall is a testament to the sheer will of the Han state, an assertion of order over chaos. But the wall is more than a physical barrier. It is a political statement. Emperor Wu, who sits on the dragon throne in the distant capital of Chang'an, has grand ambitions. He is not content to merely defend the border. He seeks to project power, to sever the head of a Xiongnu confederacy, and secure the Silk Road trade routes that bring wealth and exotic goods to the empire. This aggressive stance has led to decades of costly campaigns, draining the imperial treasury and filling the frontier with veterans like Liu. The soldier knows little of the grand strategies, the alliances with the Wusun or the Yuezhi, or the diplomatic missions that have failed. He knows only that the emperor commands, and he obeys. Yet, as he works, he wonders about the futility of it all. The Xiongnu are like the wind. You cannot build a wall to stop the wind. They flow around the defenses, finding gaps in the line, striking where the garrison is weak. The wall forces them to concentrate their forces, making them easier targets for Han armies, but it also forces the Han to spread their resources perilously thin. By mid-afternoon, the work detail ends, and the soldiers are given a brief respite. Liu uses this time to attend to a more personal duty, education. The Han Dynasty places a high value on literacy, even among its soldiers. Liu is not a scholar, but he can read and write basic characters. He finds a quiet corner of the barracks, away from the noise, and takes out a set of wooden slips and a brush. He begins to practice his calligraphy, copying passages from classic texts or recording the inventory of the armory. This might seem like a strange pastime for a weary soldier, but it serves a dual purpose. It keeps his mind sharp, preventing the atrophy of boredom, and it prepares him for the future. Soldiers who can read and keep accounts are often promoted to clerks or non-commissioned officers, positions that offer slightly better rations and less physical labor. As he dips his brush into the inkstone, he thinks about the power of the written word. These slips, bound together with string, are the way the empire sees itself. Every bushel of grain, every arrowhead, every soldier's name is recorded. If you are not written down, you do not exist in the eyes of the state. It is a bureaucracy that spans thousands of miles, regulating lives with the precision of a crossbow trigger. As the sun begins its descent, painting the desert in hues of orange and red, the atmosphere in the garrison shifts. The day's labor is done, but the night watch is about to begin. This is the most dangerous time. The cover of darkness emboldens the raiders. Liu eats a quick evening meal, more millet, a few pickled vegetables, and then suits up for the night. He straps on his armor, a heavy coat of lacquered leather plates tied together with cord. It is cumbersome and restrictive, but it offers a measure of protection against slashing swords and barbed arrows. He places a padded cap on his head and picks up his shield, reinforced with bronze and painted with the fierce reds and blacks of the Han military. The sergeant assigns the positions. Liu is stationed at the main gate, a vulnerable point that requires constant vigilance. The night falls like a heavy curtain. The temperature plummets, and the wind seems to grow louder, whispering threats against the wooden palisades. Liu stands by the gate, his hand resting on the hilt of his dao, the standard straight sword of the Han infantry. His eyes strain to pierce the darkness. The garrison is quiet, save for the shuffling of the guards and the occasional hoot of an owl. The silence is oppressive. It is in these moments that the mind plays tricks. Liu thinks he sees movement in the shadows, his heart pounding in his chest. He tightens his grip on the sword, adrenaline flooding his system. But it is nothing, just a tumbleweed blown against the wall. He relaxes, exhaling a breath he didn't know he was holding. This is the psychological warfare of the border. The enemy doesn't even need to attack. The mere threat of them exhausts the defenders. Suddenly, a shout breaks the silence. Signal! From the north tower. Liu's head snaps up. He looks out over the wall, squinting into the dark. Far in the distance, a pinprick of light appears. Then another. It is a beacon fire. The code is simple. 1 column of smoke means a small raiding party, 2 means a large force, 3 means an army. Liu sees the flickering light resolve into distinct columns. 2. The adrenaline returns, cold and sharp. The Xiongnu are coming. Not a full invasion, but a raid large enough to be dangerous. The klaxon sounds inside the compound, a harsh, jarring noise that wakes the sleeping men and sends them scrambling to their stations. Chaos erupts, but it is a disciplined chaos. Men run to the wall, crossbows in hand. The commanding officer barks orders, directing soldiers to their sectors. Liu takes his place on the battlements, loading his crossbow with practiced efficiency. He places the bolt in the groove, draws the string back using the winch, and engages the trigger. He is ready. The tension on the wall is palpable. Every man is listening, waiting for the sound of hoofbeats. The Xiongnu cavalry are terrifyingly fast. They can appear, strike, and disappear before a defense can properly mobilize. But the wall changes the equation. It forces them to slow down, to climb or batter the gates. Minutes feel like hours. Then, faint at first but growing louder, comes the thunder of hooves. It is a low rumble that vibrates through the solace of Lu's boots. Torches are lit along the wall, illuminating the scene below. Lu sees them emerging from the darkness. A swarm of horsemen, their faces obscured by fur hats, their bows drawn. They are whooping and yelling, trying to intimidate the defenders. But the Han soldiers hold their line. They are the iron wall of the Empire. "Hold," the officer screams. "Wait for the command." The Xiongnu riders approach the moat, a dry ditch dug to hinder siege engines. They dismount quickly, some trying to set ladders against the wall, others firing arrows blindly into the fortifications. An arrow thuds into the wood inches from Lu's face. He flinches, but does not break his stance. He looks down the line of crossbowmen. They are a motley crew, farmers and laborers, but in this moment, they are a lethal machine. "Loose!" The command is shouted, and 50 crossbows release at once. The sound is like a crack of thunder, a sharp asterisk thwack asterisk that echoes across the desert. The bolts fly through the torchlight, a deadly rain. Below, screams are heard as the heavy bronze tips find their marks. The Xiongnu are not wearing heavy armor. They rely on speed, and against the massed firepower of the Han, they are vulnerable. Several riders fall, their horses bolting in panic. The raid falters. But the Xiongnu are not easily deterred. They regroup, returning fire with their composite bows. It is a deadly dance. Lu reloads as fast as he can, his hands moving by rote memory. Crank, load, aim, shoot. Crank, load, aim, shoot. He doesn't think about the men he is killing. He doesn't see their faces. He only sees the targets. To hesitate is to die. He sees one raider climbing a ladder, a knife in his teeth. Lu aims, points the crossbow, and pulls the trigger. The bolt strikes the raider in the chest, and he falls backward into the dark. The skirmish lasts only 20 minutes. It is a short, sharp shock of violence. The Xiongnu, realizing the garrison is alert and prepared, and perhaps seeing the signal fires of neighboring towers lighting up the sky signaling that reinforcements are coming, decide to cut their losses. They whistle for their horses, grab their wounded, and melt back into the night as quickly as they came. Silence returns to the desert, but it is a different silence now. It is the silence of the aftermath, heavy with the smell of burnt powder and the metallic tongue of blood. Lu leans against the parapet, his chest heaving. His hands are shaking uncontrollably. The adrenaline is leaving his system, leaving him cold and exhausted. He looks down at the base of the wall. Dark shapes lie motionless in the sand. He feels a surge of relief that he is alive, followed quickly by a wave of nausea. This is the reality of 100 BC. The grand historical narratives are written in the blood of men like these. Han and Xiongnu alike, pawns in the games of kings. The officer orders a small sortie to check the perimeter and ensure no enemy remains hiding in the shadows. Lu is not part of it. He stays on the wall, staring out into the darkness. The attack has confirmed his worst fears and his grim reality. The wall works, but it requires eternal vigilance. He thinks about the Xiongnu raider he shot. Was that man also a conscript? Did he have a family waiting for him in a yurt somewhere on the steppe? Probably. The lines between them are drawn by geography and politics, but in death, they look the same. As the night wears on, the garrison settles back into a wary routine. The beacon fires continue to burn, warning other towers of the movement. Lu is finally relieved from his post. He descends the stairs, his legs feeling like lead. He returns to the barracks, stripping off his armor. His body is bruised, his muscles screaming for rest. He lies down on his pallet, but sleep does not come easily. The images of the attack flicker behind his eyelids, the fire, the arrows, the falling men. He listens to the wind outside. It sounds different now, less like a threat and more like a lament. He thinks about the Middle Kingdom, the Han concept of their empire, as the center of civilization. Out here, on the edge, the center feels very far away. The rules of polite society, the Confucian ideals of filial piety and benevolence, seem to suspend themselves in the face of survival. Yet even here, In this mud fort in the middle of nowhere, the empire persists. The logs are kept, the rations are counted, the watches are stood. The machine grinds on. Liu turns over, trying to find a comfortable spot. He thinks about the future. He has 2 years left on his service. 2 more years of wind, sand, and blood. Then, if he survives, he can go home. He can return to his village, marry the girl his parents have picked for him, and till the land. It is a simple dream, but it is the only thing keeping him going. It is the promise of the Han Dynasty. Serve the state, and the state will allow you to live. But as he closes his eyes, a darker thought intrudes. The war with the Xiongnu has been going on for generations. It will likely continue long after he is gone. His sons, or his sons' sons, may find themselves standing on this very wall, looking out at the same horizon, feeling the same wind. The wall is a physical structure, but it is also a cycle, a loop of history that traps them all. The more the Han push north, the more the Xiongnu resist. The more walls they build, the more the desert consumes them. Morning comes eventually, washing the night's horrors in pale gray light. Liu wakes up, stiff and sore. The routine begins again. The clapper sounds, the roll call is taken, the crossbows are inspected. The bodies of the dead Xiongnu have been removed during the night, buried in the sand to prevent disease and decay. The wall stands unblemished, as if the attack never happened. Liu goes through the motions, his body operating on autopilot. He mixes the mortar, he carries the baskets, he scans the horizon. In the afternoon, a courier arrives from the east. He is a horseman, dust-covered and exhausted, bringing a bundle of bamboo slips. It is news from the capital. The soldiers gather around, eager to hear anything that breaks the monotony. The officer reads the proclamations. There are victories in the west, new territories annexed, the emperor's glory extending further. The men cheer half-heartedly. It is good to hear of victory, but it feels distant. Then, the officer reads a list of promotions and commendations. One of the men in Liu's squad is mentioned for his bravery during a previous skirmish. He will be given a promotion and a small bonus. The soldiers clap him on the back, their spirits lifted for a moment. Liu looks at the scrolls. He wonders what history will say about them. Will it mention the cold, the hunger, the fear? Or will it only speak of the emperors, the generals, and the borders expanded? He realizes that he is part of something vast, a tapestry of human endeavor that stretches far beyond his own short life. He is a thread in the weave of the Han Dynasty, holding the line against the chaos of the steppe. It is a small part, perhaps an insignificant one, but it is necessary. As the sun sets on another day, Liu climbs the beacon tower one last time. He lights the evening fire, a routine precaution. The smoke rises straight up into the still air, a signal of peace, of readiness. He looks north. The Xiongnu are out there, watching and waiting, but he is here too. He stands on the wall, a silhouette against the firelight, a guardian of the empire. He thinks about the letter he will write tomorrow, asking his parents about the harvest, telling them he is safe, omitting the details of the raid. He will tell them about the stars, which shine brighter here than anywhere else in the world. The desert is a cruel teacher, but it teaches you what is important. It strips away the vanity and the greed, leaving only the raw essentials of life: warmth, food, companionship, and the will to survive. Liu takes a deep breath of the cold night air. He is tired, but he is still standing. He is still here. And for now, that is enough. The wind continues to howl, a song that has been sung for eons, but within the sturdy walls of the garrison, there is a moment of quiet determination. The story of 100 BC is not just found in the grand decrees of the emperor or the movements of armies, but in the daily endurance of men like Liu. They are the ones who carry the weight of history on their shoulders, brick by brick, day by day. They live in the shadow of the wall, knowing that while empires rise and fall, the human spirit remains as resilient as the grass on the steppe, bending in the wind, but never breaking. As the stars wheel overhead in their silent eternal dance, the soldier of the Han Dynasty keeps his watch a lonely figure, connecting the past to the future, reminding us that the borders we build are often just reflections of the walls we carry within ourselves.